Hey guys, Nick here from Play on Tabletop, and we're excited to introduce to you the new box set from Horus Heresy 2.0, and we're kind of doing our reaction to it and what we think of the new rules. I have today with me someone new. You haven't seen him before, but introduce yourself.
I'm Brennan Baker, or BB Miniatures on Instagram, and I am a huge fan of the Horus Heresy. I've been playing for like 6 years.
6 years, and pretty much exclusively from what you were telling me.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, you're not a 40k player, you're a Heresy player.
Yeah, I'm a Heresy player. Getting back into the hobby, I was like, Primarchs, the novels, I was like, you got to get me into it. So
I've played just a little bit, and I've always been interested in it, which is why I brought some bit of an expert here, or at least more of an expert than me, to really sink into it. Because I've got my opinions on it, I really like it, and you've got your opinions on it.
I really like it.
And we thought we'd tell you some of the changes, and from both the old version of Heresy and the new version of Heresy, but also some of the differences between 9th edition 40k and Heresy, because it is two different games. You're not going to get the same rule set. In front of me right here are some miniatures that you've painted.
That's correct, yeah.
So this is Thousand Suns, one of the legions of the Horus Heresy.
That's right, yeah. Thousand Suns and a little bit of White Scars that I brought you guys. It's a bit of an old, like a passion project of mine that's going to be, too long, but it's gonna be worth it when it's
all
done.
of your stuff looks like a passion project. You actually you nailed them all. Like, this guy is amazing.
Yeah, that's my baby, man. Magnus the Red.
Magnus the Red.
He did nothing wrong.
That was my very next question. Okay, Thousand Suns. They're kind of like, are they traitors? Were they loyalists until they got attacked? Like, did they do something wrong?
Oh, loyalists till the end, man.
About 3 months ago, Games Workshop approached a bunch of content creators and invited each of us to paint one of the legions from the Horus Heresy and gave us an advanced copy of the box set. We got Space Wolves. So it was very serendipitous that we encountered along our journey a local Horus Heresy player that is collecting Thousand Suns.
That's right.
I think you can all see where this is going. Yeah. In the future, we have to schedule a Burning of Prospero game. Our Space Wolves, your Thousand Suns.
Oh, definitely.
Like a full game, like fully modeled board of the Burning of Prospero. I think we got to do that.
Yeah, and it just took us half of around the world to meet.
Yes, I had never met you until I went to Warhammer World. You can see the other video on it, we posted it earlier. I had never met you until we went to Warhammer World and we saw you and it's like, hey, where are you from? Well, I'm from Vancouver. What? I am too. How did it take us to going across the world to meet each other for the first time? But it was a lot of fun. That was a cool event.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So you're also a commission painter and you do tutorials and stuff like that.
I really love teaching. Sharing everything that I know is like a huge passion of mine. So yeah, I've been teaching for like 2 years now. I've also released my new website, so I have a member section where like guys can further check out my tutorials, get in contact me through Discord, and give lots of feedback and just help raise everyone's painting levels to whatever goals they want to do.
You have definitely elevated my goals already just by looking at this. I'm like, how do I achieve that? Oh, it's so pretty. And that's non-metallic metal, correct?
Yeah, it's a...
So an example like this one, like Magnus, obviously, big centerpiece model.
Yeah.
How long do you feel like that took you?
Oh man, that guy was probably like, I would say 60 hours.
60 hours for one miniature.
Not bad.
Whoa. I don't think I have the patience for that. I can't do 60 hours on one miniature. I just say, nope, it's done. All right, moving on. So let's talk about the game itself. So this is what we call a reaction to this, not a review, because we're not going to go into every single data sheet and show you every single thing. A video would take hours and you'd get bored watching that. So what we're doing is just kind of a summary, a reaction, give you a taste and a sense of what we think and what you might find in it. If you've never played Horus Heresy before, Horus Heresy is a different game system than 40k. Back in 7th edition 40k, the game systems kind of coexisted in roughly the same ecosystem. They were roughly the same game system. And then 8th edition 40k happened, and 9th edition 40k happened, and Horus Heresy stayed the same, while 40k kind of changed and evolved into something different, a different game system. Things like templates, things like armor facing, things like an explodes chart, things like initiative value that you will never encounter in 40k right now, but they are a big part of what makes up a Horus Heresy experience. What they've just done is kind of revamp the rules, changed a few key things, added some more what I think are actually really good additions to the game.
Oh yeah.
And it feels like they've just kind of like polished it. So if you're looking for a summary of what this is, it's basically the old 7th edition polished.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. It's definitely like, you know, you take an old painting, you remove some of the really old varnish that's been kind of tarnished there, and restoring the painting, and it still like feels Heresy.
Your first reactions when you started reading through the rules and stuff like that were thumbs up, thumbs down.
Huge thumbs up.
Huge thumbs up.
I was like jacked for it, and when I got to see like the new rules and like how all the units are interacting, it just brings like so much new excitement to it.
Don't get me wrong, I like 40K, I like 9th edition 40K, but I do kind of miss templates and vehicle facing. I don't miss the arguments they caused, but I do miss some elements of that because they were fun, they were thematic, and it was so super fun to fire a big blast weapon and put this big pie plate and said, haha, I got your entire squad. Key difference in Horus Heresy versus something like 40K, this is not a competitive game. This is not meant to be a competitive game. Although there might be tournaments of Horus Heresy in the future, it's not the intent of this game. I would not suggest it. This game is really meant to be a narrative game. I've often said that that tabletop games in general are best played as a shared narrative between the players.
Oh, totally. I agree with that.
And as long as you're both on board with that, you're gonna have a fun time. Because although, yes, you can have arguments about, was this guy in or not with this template? Playing with someone you trust, it's not an issue. If you've never been exposed to Horus Heresy, the story of Horus Heresy is basically 10,000 years before the current events of 40K. The Imperium of mankind has been split in two by Horus and his heresy. He has taken a bunch of the loyal legions and turned them traitors, and loyalists and traitors of Space Marines, superhuman soldiers meant to guard humanity against the evils of the galaxy, are now fighting each other. And the galaxy is ripped asunder.
Yeah, pretty much it's an enormous galactic civil war.
And we are still seeing the scars of it in the current lore of 40K. In many ways, if you've ever played historical wargaming, that's what this is. You will often encounter people that lovingly paint every detail of a certain style of armor because only that legion had that style of armor and that particular type of breastplate.
Definitely the armies, like when you go to like a Horus Heresy event, or even check out like your local like meta, like guys who are like into the game, it's just as much about like a passion project of like displaying what they truly love about the Legion, is like just the characters that are involved in the game, and like even like the Primarchs, like naturally just people like gravitate to like who they kind of align with and who they relate to.
Yeah.
You want to win in any game that you're gonna play, you know, it's just naturally you want to win, but win in style. That's my thing. Is you got to win in style.
So let's go into a few of the changes that are kind of some of the biggest changes between the old version of Horus Heresy and this new version. One of the biggest things that you'll see when you go through that's I think gonna change the game the most is reactions. The reaction system.
Definitely.
So basically, each army has access to reactions. Some of them are unique to the Legion, but everyone has access to a group of reactions. If you've played 40K, similar to kind of stratagems, but you basically get one per phase. And these are reactions you do in your opponent's turn. And it keeps you incredibly engaged in the game.
Oh, definitely. I think so.
Yeah, because when you use those are incredibly key. Things like, okay, so they're in the movement phase, they've moved a unit, and they've moved within 12 inches of one of your units. You can now use one of your precious reactions during their movement phase to move one of your units out of phase and sometimes block a unit or put them into a better position. I have used that to great effect sometimes. He's moved a unit thinking he's got this great shot on my infantry, and I said, no, you actually moved within 12 inches of my Spartan. I'm now gonna move this giant tank in front of my infantry and block them. You're not shooting them anymore. Shooting on death. So you can use a reaction when you get shot before you die to shoot everybody.
Yeah, you can do a return fire.
A return fire, which basically, it doesn't quite make it an alternating activations game, but it does bring in enough elements of it that you feel very engaged in every phase.
Instead of like, I go, you go completely, because that would take way too long, the reactions kind of give you a little bit of that flavor.
See, you actually have to be really careful about what order you shoot or move in, and what your target priority and all that kind of stuff. It makes it very tactically how you move your guys around and what order you do things in.
Yeah, there's gonna be like, I can already picture it like playing, especially like either I'm gonna do my new White Scars or like Thousand Suns. It's like, you know, it's not always just about taking like the big beefiest units, but you want to combo with them with other ones to like even like bait
Yeah, you might maybe baiting those reactions.
Yeah, like, oh, do you want to use that now? And then,
are you sure? Yeah.
No, and throw it down and just go, oh no, this unit's coming in now.
Introduces a whole new game. Guns have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
So unlike 40K, but like old edition Horus Heresy, you still can't split your fire. You still got to choose one target, except for defensive weapons. This is one of my favorite additions to vehicles.
Yeah.
So previously, in the old Horus Heresy, you had a vehicle, you had some maybe anti-infantry weapons, some anti-tank weapons on it, and all of them had to fire at the same target. You couldn't split the fire, and it was very frickin' annoying because you had these infantry that want to shoot the infantry and the tank shot that wants to shoot the tank. But now, anything that is strength 6 or less, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Is now classified as a defensive weapon, and any defensive weapon can be split fired. You can shoot at a different target with it. From my understanding, so I've only played a few Horus Heresy games, but previously, my understanding is pretty much everyone just took plasma.
Yeah, unfortunately it was like the meta gun of choice where like I even tried to like sprinkle like other guns in the game just to paint something different. like this Thousand Sun like veteran squad I have, like I took a sergeant with like a combi flamer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to paint a flamethrower instead of like another glowing plasma gun.
Well, because like everyone's essentially in the game, everyone is Space Marines, so they have big heavy armor. And armor is different than 40K in this. You either beat the opponent's armor and they get no save, or you don't and they get a full save. There's no a negative modifier to the save.
Nothing in between. It's either all or nothing in Heresy.
Exactly. Plasma always beat through everybody's save, so it's always good. Now Plasma is a unique weapon. It has it basically still can do that. It can still get an armor ignoring AP value, however, only on a high dice roll. So you're not guaranteed that it's always going to be blasting through the armor. Sometimes it might just do damage, you still get your full save against it. It gives room and reason for some of the other weapons like Melta and Flamers and Combis and all the other kind of assault weapons.
The weapon list has been extended, so it's a little more just more guns in general. More weapons, just more viable that you don't feel that you need to take plasma in order to succeed in a game.
Works a little differently, and it should make the game a lot more, well, varied in its weapon loadouts. Dreadnoughts are now different. They used to be a vehicle. Vehicles are very different in Horus Heresy compared to 40K. They don't have a toughness value. For instance, they have armor facing and hull points, and you can either do no damage to them or even blow them up very easily sometimes, and that's really exciting. But Dreadnoughts now have a toughness value, and they are brutal.
Yeah.
You can take them in units. Some of their weapons have brutal impact, which basically does multiple damage for each hit they do on an infantry. Psychic powers have changed a little bit. I want to talk about that a little bit. You being such a psychic heavy army.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of my big things, like looking to the new edition, being a Thousand Suns player, and I love the psychic phase. Not all my opponents really enjoyed it because it was more like, oh, it's Brennan's phase. Like,
it's Brennan's phase. Let's go get a drink. I'll be back later for the.
Now all the psychic powers, they branch them off into 2. So there's powers and weapons. Any of your powers will just say what phase you need to cast it on.
Yeah, so basically no psychic phase. It happens during the game at various points, so you won't have this dedicated time with psychic armies where
that's correct. Yeah,
they just go do damage to your army. It's spread throughout. I actually kind of like that change, especially for psychic heavy armies.
As much as I like the psychic phase and like the power overwhelming, the same time I still want the game to be interactive with everyone. Yeah. So the new changes to the phase is actually, I think, is a really good a boon for the game.
So that's kind of a general gist of some of the rules changes. One other thing that has changed dramatically is wound allocation. Before it was whatever the closest model is that takes the wounds. So now the controlling player actually gets to choose it, which it makes the game a lot better.
You would get into kind of janky situations where people would be like, you put your veteran sergeant up there with the 2-up save, and then he would just keep taking hits, or like if a hit kind of came that you didn't want to take, you do a lookout, sir. Yeah. Like a plasma weapon or something.
It basically introduced a lot of janky maneuvers where you're like, hey, I'm not putting my special weapon over here, I'm putting him just slightly behind so we can't be shot. Or I'm gonna charge you, you do Overwatch, you kill a few guys, I have to take the guys from the front, now my charge is longer. It bogged the game down a little bit, and now it feels a bit smoother. So that's kind of a taste of what you can see. If you're interested in checking out Horus Heresy, we're actually interested in trying it. And we have to plan for this amazing Burning of Prospero game one day. So definitely. It's gotta happen. Wait. So we'll set a date, we'll plan for it, we'll build up our forces for it, and the epic Leman Russ versus Magnus battle will happen.
I'm gonna take him down.
Well, thank you for joining us. One last thought. You're in favor of this? You think it's gonna be a good addition?
Yes. 100%. I'm totally stoked for it.
So if you've ever been interested in Horus Heresy, there's never been a better time to get a part of it. New box set, new rules, it flows better. We're gonna sign off here. Until we see you next time, play on.